Hello everyone, welcome back to Cross/Game. EV here with another video, and today is a decently long one because I'm reacting to a video around the video game industry. So it's a video by another content creator on YouTube, and he expertly kind of articulated how we came to be where we are with video games and how they became or are considerably becoming more and more woke. I know we attribute that term to everything, but I feel like it's like someone said on one of my videos, commented, we can't explain what it kind of means, but we know when we see it, because there's just so many examples. So it can't be just this is woke and that's what it means. It's basically when it's just OTT. If it's over the top with everything, then you start to realise that it's no longer the video game that you wanted to enjoy, and that there's a lot more messaging being forced down your throat. And someone kind of made this video. I think he's got a significant amount of views on this video and a significant amount of followers, and he's done such a great job articulating how we came to be like this in like a 15-minute video that I thought I would watch it and react to it and add some comments along the way. Because I feel like it's a very important video for everyone that loves video games and supports the fact that this isn't the way forward. This isn't how we want to enjoy our video games, and it's kind of destroying the medium slowly but surely. So I thought I'd play the video, watch it with you guys, and leave some comments and tidbits along the way, and any questions I might have at the end, and see where we go. Okay, so let's start the video. I'll just change this here.
Today's an interesting video, at least I think so, because today we're talking about the process by which the video game industry went woke through the lens of a pretty widespread claim that was made a few months ago. The claim was that a company called Sweet Baby Incorporated had somehow contributed to the phenomenon where video game narratives are being deliberately constructed for the purpose of ticking off diversity checkboxes, which in turn qualifies them for ESG investments, ESG meaning environmental, social, and governance in this case, from major companies like Black Rock. It sounds complicated, but the idea itself is pretty straightforward. Investment companies like Black Rock allegedly have a kind of scorecard. That scorecard factors in things like diversity, inclusion, LGBTQ allyship, etc., and the scores that these companies receive qualify them, or disqualify them, from being the target of investment, which has further downstream impacts. The particular claim we're looking at today asserts that video game publishers have increasingly turned to a company called Sweet Baby Incorporated, among others, so as to boost their effective score.
So I'm just going to pause it there. So that Sweet Baby Inc. Is a company that I made a video some weeks ago, and I got a lot of stick for it. Don't know why, but for some reason that he's obviously come to analyse that they exist and what their role is. So let's see what he has to say.
Modifying their games with woke style themes or narratives, thereby qualifying them for additional investments, aka going woke. Now, I fully understand that today's topic is highly politicized. I'm not trying to do that, it's just an objective fact here, so please keep in mind that I'll be attempting to go purely analytical, staying away from opinionated jabs and commentary on what I actually think of the current gaming landscape. I certainly have opinions, don't get me wrong, but this video is about looking at patterns, not rambling about grievances. There's plenty of that circulating on social media right now. I've certainly done it myself in the past, but today I'm much more interested in what's actually happening behind the scenes, because the general accusation, gaming has gone woke, is extremely common, yet often said with very little deeper analysis. Let's get started. This is Sweet Baby Incorporated. This company in particular came under fire a few months ago from a variety of angles, resulting in them turning some of their social media private, probably because they got harassed, which does happen when you become the target of YouTube videos en masse. But with that in mind, I'm not actually focusing on whether or not Sweet Baby Incorporated individually is the reason video games went woke. I'm focusing on the concept of whether or not companies like them have an incentive to exist, and whether or not major publishers or development studios have an incentive to hire them. If those two things prove to be true, well, that obviously tells us something, and here's a bit of a spoiler. It's pretty obvious in my opinion that yes, those two things are currently true. Once again, this is Sweet Baby Incorporated. It is a, quote, narrative development and consultation studio based in Montreal, with a mission to tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video games industry. End quote. On the surface, to be completely honest, that's not very interesting. It gets a little bit weirder when you listen to some of the things that their executives have said publicly, sure, but the most interesting part is their client list. Xbox Game Studios, EA, Electronic Arts that is, Valve, 2K, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Warner Brothers, Rocksteady, Avalanche, Compulsion Games.
Rocksteady, Square Enix is in there, and I think this is a bit scary for me because Rocksteady is obviously coming under fire recently for their latest the Suicide Squad called the Justice League game, with some of the sort of changes they made, with Harley Quinn not wanting to wear her sexy revealing outfit that she's used to wearing and going for a more concealed manly look. They've just transformed her into a non-really appealing character, I guess, for lack of a better way of explaining. Her femininity's kind of gone, and yeah, is this company involved? Possibly. Maybe the story even may have a lot of Sweet Baby Inc.'s involvement, sort of putting their hand in it and changing a few things here and there. And I'm sure when the game comes out soon, it's already panned to be a disappointment, and some people are already predicting that it might even close the studio if it doesn't do well, because not only there's this side of the coin, there's also the issue with live service games where everyone's trying to get a piece of the pie. Obviously this is Rocksteady and Warner Bros. So together, and Warner Bros. Wants to get a piece of the pie because they see other games make so much money out of live service video games, and making money after the game's sold, with DLCs and in-game transactions and all that stuff. So I can see where they're coming from, but it's such a big gamble to do a live service game especially if you don't come from that background, which Rocksteady is famous for making the Batman trilogy, the Arkham trilogy, and now they've completely done a 180 and done this. And the game should have been good. It should have been a single player story because that's what they were good at. But rumours are half of the people that were involved in the Batman Arkham series have left already. They've gone to do other things because they didn't like the direction where the studio was going, which is no surprise. But here we go. Sweet Baby Inc. There's Rocksteady. There's Warner Bros. I think the dagger in my heart right now is Square Enix, because I'm really worried that there's any sort of influence by these guys in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I really hope not, but only time will tell. Let's go for it.
Games, etc., etc. The list is very long and also includes a large number of industry-leading publishers as well as development studios. For Sweet Baby as a business, that's great, but for the topic today, we need to understand what it is they actually do. The best way to describe this, without going down a pretty hefty rabbit hole here, is to read this paragraph from their Approach info page. Quote, "We believe that representation is key to connecting players and audiences, and we offer a few ways to help your team and project gain the perspective needed to make it happen. We're part of an inclusive and knowledgeable community of diverse consultants, able to cover a wide range of cultural and sensitivity topics. Our approach leads with the creation of joy in marginalized players and seeks to be additive rather than strictly corrective. We do cultural consultation, sensitivity and inclusivity reading, risk and opportunities assessment, and more." End quote. See, that's the type of stuff that people generally talk about or refer to when they say the word woke. Sensitivity reading means reading something and determining who might possibly be offended, which might be okay, surface level, sure, except for when obscure or irrelevant demographics are considered, or invented, rather, leading to dramatic corrections, as they also discuss, which are then made to the game, ultimately destroying its appeal to the pre-existing fan base. Whether you're for it or against it, the idea of hiring a consultation firm to help make your game more sensitive, inclusive, and diverse is a practice that is now rather common. And again, that is what people are referring to when they say that the video game industry has gone woke. But the question is why? Short answer, ESG, environmental social governance. That's what people tell you who criticize the practice, but what's actually happening? This is Black Rock. Black Rock is a multinational investment firm. You've probably heard of it many times before, and it's the world's largest individual corporate asset manager. On a similar level is Vanguard, another multinational investment company managing over $7.7 trillion in this case. And these two firms, among many others out there, have something in common. they both prioritize ESG investments.
And I'm just pausing it there because I think my biggest question is why? Why has ESG investments become so big? It at this moment in time, it feels like that because of these big players who invest so much money in companies, the companies then have to make themselves look appealing to these investors, right? So it's how companies make money. You invest in them, you put the money down. Hopefully those companies, or in this case video game companies, make games that make loads of money, so they get a return on their investment, right? But why is ESG become one of the main key? Like, if you're not pandering to that woke nonsense, then your ESG score is low, meaning you don't come in within the sights of these guys. So they won't even consider putting money down for your company. And I find that really strange, because what that in turn does is it makes companies transform into that, because it's not genuine, really, is it? If the ESG score is based on a company pandering woke nonsense in their games and films and all that, then ultimately all that really is a company transforming the way they do their business to appease investors. It's not it's not a genuine transformation. I don't disbelieve that half of the people at work there, they don't feel that way, that when they do these sort of transformations and go full on woke and pander all this rubbish to us gamers. I don't disbelieve that they're not being genuine. They are being genuine, because they've been employed exactly for that reason. The people that don't believe in this sort of message have been taken out. They no longer work there, so they've employed these diversity hires and all these people that they just employed all these people to get rid of the old mentality and brought a new mentality in. So we understand that the people who are working at the development companies that make video games now, like the Spider-Man 2 as an example, we understand that they believe in the message they're putting out there and they believe in the transformation that they're doing, which is fine. But the point is that's not genuine. You see, the people above them only decided to go down that road because of these guys, because of Vanguard and Black Rock and others are like them, who really heavily invest in businesses who have a high ESG score. So why is that? Why did ESG, and I don't remember, but I hope this video kind of comes to that conclusion, is how did we get to this? Why is this so important? This cultural shift, this transformation, it doesn't make any sense that it's being forced through. It's literally being forced through. The backlash is so severe, it's so obvious. There's companies literally closing because of this stuff, like the development companies that just decided, they went full on, they transformed in this way, and then they closed. Why? Because maybe they weren't expecting to be invested by Vanguard, but because the sales of their games is poor, they're not going to invest in that. It feels like a double-edged sword. Oh, we're going full woke. Come on, Vanguard, please invest in our company. Oh, hold on, let's see how your game does. Oh, really poor sales. Sorry, mate. Oh, so they lose on both ends. They don't get the investment they expected to have, and they lose on sales because they've just spent all that money making this video game that sells nothing because they made it to the wrong demographic, to the people that don't care about video games. They care about the politics around it, but they don't care. They don't go out to buy these games. And the only reason Spider-Man 2 did so well, because of Spider-Man. It's an IP that's very famous and endeared by many people. And mind you, the people that did buy the game didn't know it was going to be heavily influenced by the woke nonsense that it had inside of it. So they bought it because of Spider-Man and wanted to play as a superhero and to play a good, entertaining game. They didn't buy it because they wanted to play as Mary Jane, OP, and or ugly Mary Jane, or feminist Mary Jane, or deaf black girl who spray paints on the wall. Like, no one bought Spider-Man for those reasons, and if anyone says they did, then why did you buy Spider-Man? I guess is where we're coming to. Anyway, I digress. It's a double-edged sword. It's a big risk to go woke, really, for these. That's my take on it at this moment in time. It's a big risk for these companies, these video game companies, to go woke, because if their game doesn't sell, they just close. That's it. They've invested in a video game and it's not selling. They go dead. It's not selling. Vanguard ain't gonna go, well, you got a great ESG score, but you've shit, you don't make any money, so why are we going to put money down if you can't make any money? We're not going to get a return on our investment, so no, there's no point. Anyway, let's go back to the video.
ESG-focused investing is a financial phenomenon or trend, if you will. According to a PwC report, quote, asset managers globally are expected to increase their ESG-related assets under management, AUM, to $33.9 trillion by 2026, end quote. And what's even more substantial, ESG assets are on pace to constitute 21.5% of total global assets under management in less than 5 years. Simply put, ESG investing is a viral phenomenon where the social, environmental, and political conscience of an asset, or company rather, is allegedly at the core of whether or not major investment firms will include it in their portfolios. So much so that prominent businesses now publish what are called ESG reports. Here's one from Kraft Heinz, the company behind ketchup, in 2022. It has an entire section called Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. More specific to gaming, if you want that, here's an ESG report from Activision Blizzard in 2021. The word diversity is mentioned 39 times, and the report very specifically emphasizes more characters in the video games that they produce from LGBTQ backgrounds or non-binary representation. Now, this matters because Black Rock and Vanguard, both of them, under their asset umbrella, if you will, have numerous different funds dedicated to the concept of ESG, which is specifically why these large companies are trying so hard to fit in. One important side note for later in the video from the Vanguard ESG stock ETF, quote, the index excludes the stocks of companies that FTSE determines engage in, have a specified level of involvement in, and or derive threshold amounts of revenue, that's important, threshold amounts of revenue, from one or more of the following activities, including, further down, own and or operate a gambling establishment,
right.
End quote. My point is that these investment funds have rules, kind of ethical rules, really, and that gaming companies in particular are attempting to conform to said rules. However, let's go one step further and make it completely obvious. Remember that list of companies that hired Sweet Baby Incorporated that they brag about on their official website? Let's look at those, starting with Electronic Arts. The largest two institutional shareholders of EA, Black Rock and Vanguard. Take-Two Interactive, another name on the list of Sweet Baby clients by way of 2K. Largest institutional holders, Vanguard and BlackRock. Warner Brothers, again, Sweet Baby client, largest holders, Vanguard, then BlackRock, and the list goes on. See, the corporate tree of life, as I call it in a demented way, makes it even more obvious because the other names on that list, the list of Sweet Baby clients that is, are almost all related in some capacity as well, even if BlackRock or Vanguard are not directly holding their company's stock. Example, Warner Brothers in 2010, a while ago, acquired a majority stake in Rocksteady Studios, meaning that yet another client on the list is directly connected through its parent organization, and the same is true for practically every single name you see. Microsoft, largest institutional holders, surprise, surprise, Vanguard, BlackRock, and this was true for Activision Blizzard as well, even before the buyout. As of October 12, 2023, BlackRock owned 56 million shares of the company, accounting for 7.2% of its total, and Vanguard owned over 61 million, 7.9%. Microsoft also owns Compulsion Games, surprise, surprise, yet another name on the list of Sweet Baby Incorporated, but you get the point. These companies, the ones hiring Sweet Baby, unilaterally enjoy substantial investment from two of the world's largest asset holders who champion the concept of ESG in their investing portfolios, which heavily incentivizes shoehorn diversity, thereby feeding the cycle and creating an industry norm where publishers play ball, kind of, and make their products look better for the purpose of appeasing this larger agenda, only to have their original audiences wondering what the hell happened when the products become unrecognizable. Make sense?
This is it. This is it. But not only that, they're failing. They're failing. They're not doing well. The ones that are doing well have an IP that is just too big to fail. But the ones that have gone full ham, like Rocksteady coming up, you'll see what's going to happen. It's going to fail. They might just close that it's that game's been in development for 8 years. It can't fail, right? In essence, 8 years of development since the last Dark Knight. That was a Dark Knight about the Arkham Knight. 8 years of investment. It's going to fail, and these guys are all behind it. So if you're gonna add all this ESG stuff which translates into woke pandering into video games, then all you're doing is you're trying to portray and force this message across to all of us players who love video games. We've been playing them since we were kids. So you're clearly trying to put this message across to us, but we're not buying it. We don't want it. Okay, we understand what it means. We understand the concept, but you can't make us feel guilty for not wanting it in our video games. Unless, as I explained in many of my other videos, it's organic. It's done with taste, properly. It enhances the story, not detracts or takes you away from the experience. Okay, this is my point. I love seeing myself represented in video games. It's like, but so what? Who cares? Like, did you buy the game? I don't know if you did. I don't know. I don't think people are buying the games because, realistically speaking, the data speaks for itself. The sales are not what they're supposed to be, or what is expected to be. So anyway, let's just keep going. It's a bit infuriating that they're trying to push this agenda, try and transform the landscape into this way of thinking to make people feel and think and feel guilty. I don't know, but moral of the story is, as he's just pointed out, it's not a genuine transformation. It isn't something that it doesn't come from a good place. It comes from money, guys. And it doesn't matter who you are, if you're a big woke LGBTQ supporter, it doesn't matter whatever you're supporting, whether it's diversity, inclusion, all that, right? You have to understand that it doesn't come from a good place, guys. If you're just here for war and you just want fuel negative content and whatever, all this is doing is it's making the people that loved the medium before this all started to start hating these companies for forcing this down our throats to begin with. You're not getting what you wanted. You're just getting more hate, if anything. It's drawing the wrong limelight to the cause. Because I agree, there's a certain element that needs to be understood and has to be applicable to today's society to support each minority and each topic. Okay, so to support each person that needs, they need to be more. We need to be more aware. Sure, okay. It's really hard for me to articulate these things. I'm not very good on the fly, but I get it. I support it in a way. I've done videos where I've said this is where they've done diversity and inclusion really well. Okay, and it's really good for the story. It enhances the video game. It's almost invisible to us because it's done that well. It's done as part of the story, and that came from a good place. The writer thought about it. He's like, oh, you know what, this character from this background really would fit well in this context, in this story, and it will enrich everything or bring things together. And therefore that's great. But if it comes from this, okay, if it's coming from a place where these big quadrillion dollar companies are behind, like puppeteering, forcing the narrative, they're forcing these companies to mold into an ESG company only so they can get investments. So they can, I don't understand who they're trying to appease, because again, no one's buying the games. Okay, companies have closed because of this stuff. It's so infuriating. Just leave it alone. That's all I can think in my back of my head, is just leave it alone. Let the developers make their games that they've envisioned, and stop trying to change and add and make it more culturally sensitive, because I'm sorry, that's not what media's about. It's supposed to challenge people. Okay, it's if anything, the more insensitive the better. It gives us more ways to see the right from wrong. Okay, anyway, let's get on with it.
Sense? Just one problem. This whole thing is a sham. Remember that requirement, the one we briefly read from the Vanguard ETF about excluding gambling? Yeah, that's a pretty normal provision for most of these funds, but half of the modern video game world is now predicated on blatant underage gambling.
Of course.
Loot boxes, surprise mechanics, whatever you want to call them, it's gambling. But that doesn't really matter because the point isn't to actually have ethical investments. The point is to look like you do through the lens of modern social expectations.
Yeah.
Let me expand on that. According to analysis done by Gianpaolo Pari and Mirko Rubin, I think is how you say that, published by Vox EU in October of 2023, titled Smoke and Mirrors, A Look Inside ESG Fund Portfolios. Quote, as a final piece of evidence, we calculate the hypothetical returns a fund would earn based on the disclosed portfolio and compare them to its realized returns. In Figure 2, we observe that in the 10 days leading up to disclosure, funds tend to underperform the portfolio they are about to disclose. This observation is consistent with the idea, during this period, they incur meaningful transaction costs as they adjust their portfolio to include more environmentally friendly and sustainable assets. However, following the disclosure event, we notice a shift in performance dynamics. Funds begin to outperform the portfolio that they have just disclosed, indicating that they are now holding higher paying assets than the ones they have recently made public.
Right.
This trend is in line with the hypothesis that after the disclosure event, funds might replace some ESG assets with higher yielding but less sustainable assets.
Right.
End quote. Simplified, before disclosing what assets they hold, ESG funds are rearranging themselves to look good, only to sell off those assets immediately and invest back into whatever is just most profitable. Smoke and mirrors. Here's an even better example that's also pertinent to the gaming industry. Activision Blizzard, the company rocked by sexual harassment lawsuits, worker mistreatment scandals, employee walkouts, and governmental investigations. Yeah, they're perfectly fine for these funds, apparently. They have a board of directors that's 20% women and 20% underrepresented minorities, according to their ESG reports, so they're good to go. And as such, were included in many of the funds that Black Rock and Vanguard offer as an ESG compliant company. Even the Wall Street Journal itself openly admits, quote, asset managers seem willing to include any company paying lip service to progressive priorities, end quote. Companies like Sustainalytics and Permutable AI publish reports aimed at analyzing the ESG score of different organizations, and those reports are allegedly used by BlackRock, Vanguard, and presumably others as well to allocate funds. The problem? Those reports merely seem to establish a surface-level score, failing to consider even monumental issues with the company internally, like reliance on underage gambling as a revenue stream, a large one at that, or widespread worker abuse as well, focusing instead on things like self-disclosed ESG reports, where a company brags about what percentage of its executive board are non-binary.
Great.
The results? Companies like Activision Blizzard are included in the environmental social governance funds, while publishers become incentivized to hire consultants like Sweet Baby Incorporated because the surface-level narrative changes that they make to their intellectual property and franchise video games are somehow impactful enough here to place them in the good graces of the world's largest asset managers. Not because they did anything good, but because they look good on paper according to a very narrow set of criteria, so that holding their stock is deemed ethical at specific points in time. Bottom line, Sweet Baby Incorporated is not responsible for video games going woke. It's merely profiting off a general demand for that end, helping them do it by making the products seem that way, so that publishers can align themselves with a financial trend that demands diversity and inclusion, all for the optics of an asset fund. At least, that's what it looks like to me if I step back and try to see the full picture. In the end, the idea that video games have gone woke seems to be based on a measurable push to have parent organizations and publicly traded companies associated with video games included in ESG funds by altering their products and paying lip service to the ideals that these funds pretend, once in a while, to be based on.
Just want to pause it there because I want to say an amazing well done to this guy who made this video. He articulates things and really breaks it down so well. It's kind of like all our frustrations just gone through a translator, and he's gone, by the way, this is what they mean when they're frustrated by what's happening to the video game industry and their love and the games that they love. There you are, guys. Whether you're a big supporter of the woke movement or you're on kind of my side, where you understand that there is some changes need to happen, but they need to happen organically. They need to happen naturally. over a long period of time. You can't just force this and make people feel bad and pressure them into doing it, especially pressuring them via investments and money, because it's just so fake. And it's actually really annoying, because there's people out there that I can appreciate play video games, because I'm only speaking from the video game perspective, right? They play video games, and it would be nice for them to see themselves in some way in the media that they consume. Fine. It must feel good. Sure, I can see where they're coming from. But guys, this is it. This is where those changes, those forced changes are coming from, and kind of like the war that it's creating in our culture, because it's not that we're not ready for it. We just understand that it's not genuine. Anyway, let's finish off.
That's it. If you want to support the channel, please check out the links down.
So yeah, I'll stop it there, because he goes into something else that's not to do with the video. But guys, like, I don't know how else to position it. I think this is such a great video, and I will link it in the below. I will link it below, because I think you guys should go watch it yourselves again. Drop the guy a like, because I think he's done such a great job at putting it all together. And I think it's such a great video. It's so poignant right now for the times that we're going through. We're at the beginning of 2024, and so much rubbish has happened already, between Tekken 8, the whole racist allegation against the director of Tekken 8, to the feminine bodies that Stellar Blade come out with, and the hate that it comes out of that, because they're putting a unrealistic body, even though the main character is modelled by a real life model. So it's it's this sort of thing that it takes away from the magic that is video games, and it's really sad to see that from one end, the money is the one pushing the agenda, which then makes people in the middle, the gamers or the people that actually believe in this sort of thing, thinks that the developers are actually genuine about what they're doing. Just brings to mind the interview that I think was IGN did with the director of Spider-Man 2, where he literally says, yeah, we give what they want, we give what the players want, and then we put something along the sides that they didn't know they even wanted. They didn't, so it's kind of all done wrong. It's under the table pandering crap, guys. It's not genuine, and ultimately it's all down to money. Okay, gaming used to be art versus money. The guys couldn't make their video games without the money, so the money would come in, go, look, we want a return on our investment, here's the money. The art goes, alright, we're going to make our game, fine. The money goes, well, we're putting the money down, so we're going to have some say in what goes into that game, and how, and it was always like a bit of a struggle between fine-tuning the art versus the money, okay, because then sometimes the money compromises the art, and you don't get the game or the film or whatever you wanted to put out there as the visionary of the product, right? So you're the one that come up with the idea for the game, and sometimes the game doesn't come out in the way you envisioned it, and that's because the money decides, they make the ultimate decisions, and that's how it used to be. And sometimes the game would fail because of that, because the final product wasn't exactly what was envisioned. But now the art is down here, right? The art is down here. The money and the ESG sugar and all. There's so many more barriers now, right? For these guys to succeed. I don't know where this is gonna go, because all I just see is companies shutting down, because you cannot. Disney is going to be a prime example, I think. You cannot do this. You cannot grab what was once good and successful and change it and erase the past, okay, and push this agenda and hope that the people that have seen and grew up with it still put the money down for this crap. We're not going to. It's obvious we're not going to, okay. Disney went and put money down into all those companies, all those brands like Marvel and Star Wars and so on, and it's sinking them slowly but surely, because they're not doing right by their customers. You can't hate your customer. You can't tell your customer you're wrong, because in the end, whilst the saying is not one that I totally agree, but the customer's always right. The customer's the one with the money. The customer's the one that keeps you in business. If you're doing everything for the wrong reasons, an ESG score and some outdoor investment like the Black Rock guy, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. You're just doing it for the wrong reasons. The people that you expect support from, they'll go, yeah, oh, thank you so much for representing us in your video game. Oh, thank you so much, it's amazing. But they ain't spending money. Actually, they don't have money to spend for you. We do. Okay, we're working out here. We're paying our taxes, and we deserve to. We pay money for the entertainment that you produce. But if this video is anything to go by, which I think is like very much on the money, there's no point. Anything you produce, as soon as we see that you're trying to just send the message down into our throats, we're not going to buy into it. Okay, anyway, that's the end of the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please go to the link and watch the video again, and drop a like and a comment on that guy's video. He was amazing. Sorry, I don't have the name of the channel in my mind, but he's done such a great job, and yeah, support his channel, please. In any case, please like and share and subscribe to my video, and help me grow my channel. It's fun to. I don't make money out of this, but it's something that's very close to my heart, and that's why I made this video, to propagate this message. What is actually going on? Why is this going wrong? Okay, why is the Japanese or the Eastern companies doing so well and coming on top? Because this is what the West has consisted of, right? It's just money. Okay. Anyway, love you all. See you next time. Ciao.